Thank you, Senator Scott. And unlike Senator Scott's home state, Florida, Missouri is landlocked, my home state. But when I started on this committee, I wanted to be on the Sea Power Subcommittee. So we have an Army base, we have an Air Force base. Missouri obviously does not have a naval base. Mississippi's not deep enough. But because I believe that, and the reason for that is because I think that our biggest challenge from a national security perspective that we're facing, Missourians, Americans, is China. And so that is a focus of mine, and I know that it is a focus of yours with the Navy and the Marines. And to that end, there are several very concerning trends that I want to discuss. The first is the fact that China's naval fleet is rapidly outpacing our own, and that gap is only widening. The Pentagon reports that suggest China may have 420 ships by 2025 and 460 ships by 2030. What's worse, Beijing is devoting significant amounts of its maritime training on island capture scenarios. In 2021, the People's Liberation Army, quote, conducted more than 20 naval exercises with an island capture element, greatly exceeding the 13 observed in 2020, according to a Pentagon 2022 report on Chinese military developments. This is another indicator, I think, of China's ambitions, and Taiwan's in the crosshairs. There's no doubt about it. So to sort of follow up on Senator Scott's questions, to me, the best way to support Taiwan's ability to defend itself from Chinese aggression is to bolster their defensive capabilities today. Harpoon anti-ship missiles, which the U.S. government is already committed to providing, is critical. Providing 100 new delivery systems, which I think has already been committed, as well as 400 Harpoon Block 2 surface-launched missiles. But the fact is that these aren't going to be fully fielded until 2027. So to expedite this critical capability as a stopgap until the new systems can be fielded, the U.S. should transfer from several hundred older missiles in the military's inventory that are under consideration for demilitarization or destruction. Secretary Del Toro, will you commit to working collaboratively and creatively with the Taiwanese and the administration to leverage existing munitions and support equipment to expedite defense aid to Taiwan?
Absolutely, I will. And we have been actually collaborating within the letter of the law and the authorities that are allowed by law for us to collaborate with the Taiwanese to provide them the munitions that are necessary, the equipment that's necessary for them to be able to defend themselves.
Well, I think that's good to hear. I think we've heard a lot about these supply chain issues. But Taiwan, the shot clock's probably started. It's between now and 4 years, right? I mean, this is coming. And I just don't know how much time they really have to have the support that they need to deter a Chinese offensive, which they seem to be dead set at. So in that vein, and also in this broader sort of industrial base, you mentioned the discussions that have been had. What would let's say we were at war today. Let's say today the United States is at war with some power, China, whoever. What would we do differently than we do right now to ramp up that industrial base? Like what is holding us back? There's a demand signal, right, which I think is being sent. There's a demand. What else would we do? I mean, like 3 or 4 things that we would do differently than we're doing right now to be prepared. And also, this also relates to Taiwan.
Well, there are war authorities that would be exercised that are not currently exercised, but the goal here is to prevent war with China.
Correct.
To deter China from going to war. And I think the power of our coalitions with our allies and partners internationally has much to do with that, in fact.
I agree, and I have limited time. And I think the Philippines, I see what's happening. I think this is a...
South Korea and many
Yes.
other countries in the Indo-Pacific that we rely on as partners, actually.
But as relates specifically to the industrial base, other than the war powers, what is it that we do differently? Are there state barriers in the states where we have naval shipyards? What is it?
So this President's budget actually has increased the amount of funding for increased munitions by 50%, for example. That's the most significant increase that we've had in the several past years. And it's investments in SM-6, LRASM, and numerous other munitions as well, too. We're also investing in CPS, for example, to try to get deployable on the Zumwalt-class destroyer by 25 and on the Virginia-class submarine by 30. We're pushing on all fronts, on all cylinders, to actually try to move as fast as we can. But just like in the shipbuilding industry, and with regards to the shipbuilding plan as well, too, we can only move as fast as industry can actually produce as well, too, because the opportunity costs associated with making major multi-billion-dollar investments when industry can't keep up with those productions means that we can't spend money in other places as well, too, where that's badly needed as well. So it's all about finding the right balance and the right compromise to move forward as aggressively.
Well, right, which is why I'm sort of highlighting Taiwan, because we are, I think they've been on the back burner. And I don't think they can be anymore.
Sir, can I make one?
Yeah.
So if I would use Austell Shipbuilding in Alabama as an example, that company shifted from completely working with aluminum to working with steel. The reason they could do that, the sole reason they could do that, is because of the Defense Production Act. So to answer your question, there needs to be substantial investment by the U.S. government in those industries in order for them to surge. We stopped doing that in shipbuilding in the Reagan administration. You saw 30 shipyards go down to 7. We saw that in the 1990s during the Clinton administration with the aircraft industry and how it supports the military. That's the first thing. The second thing is you need a bigger Navy and Marine Corps to protect those approaches from the sea, to keep the United States economy humming, and to deny that to any adversary. Those are the two things.
Well, I'm going to ask my hypersonic question in closed session, so thank you.
I'm taking over as the chairman until the chairman